Okay, everyone. Let's see here if we can get started again. Hope you enjoyed the first session. Now let's get started with the second one. We'll close a couple things, and we're going to start up with quick picks next. So let's do a presentation here. Now, next part of our presentation today is a deep dive into quick picks. Quick picks are a big portion of Issuetrak, but a lot of people get confused about what exactly does it mean. So a quick pick essentially is a quick way of putting Issuetraks in. So what we're going to do is kind of go back. In our last webinar, we went back and we talked about issue types and custom screens. And so I showed you how to set up issue types. So I told you the example of the custom screens. And so what we added functionality, essentially, is what we did. So it's a good way of being able to go ahead and submit the issues. So here, what we're doing is we're making it an issue type and custom screen work for us. So it's properly categorizing the issue. It's formatting the data we want to gather. It uses business rules. It can route the information. And once that issue is submitted, agents may need to edit the information to make sure it's correct. So sometimes what happens is when you put in an issue by an issue type, a lot of users will put in just the basics. Just put in something into the subject line, something into the description, and then maybe be forced to give it a category, which is the issue type. Now, they have other fields that may be in there. They may or may not add additional data that's required on the submission. So what they do sometimes is forget about it or just get the issue in, and they'll wait for the next phone call. So, of course, as an agent, it slows us down. We're not getting all the data we want. We've got to make another phone call. We've got to try to figure out what that person is trying to do as far as submitting that issue. So here, we're going to use what's called a quick pick. And what it is, it's a guide to the user to submit the issue properly so that the response time can be quicker. In other words, I want to go ahead and give them as much information as much as they're going to give me. For example, if it happens to be something like a new user ad, well, I want to go ahead and get information about who that user is, where they're going to be. I also want to be able to provide them with a process so that as soon as that particular issue is submitted, someone's going to be notified that it's happened. It may be someone in facilities, it may be in personnel, it may be someone else, but at least everybody's going to be notified. Also, I'm trying to pre-fill information in there. I'm going to try to pre-fill as much data as I can so I can help that user have a better experience about submitting that issue. So in this particular case, what happens is it's going to be going to go ahead and have everything pre-filled so that I can have a small experience. And I'll kind of give you an example of that. I went out on a particular on-site visit with one of my customers. And one of the things that they had added was what they called essentially a drive-by issue. And the idea behind the drive-by issue was essentially to create an issue for their agents or their users that were working on issues to record events that was happening when they went to a user's they went to an issue when they went to a user's desk and went ahead and tried to respond to their question. So now, what happens in this particular case is this. They go to the user's desk, and of course, on the way to the user's desk, what happens? They get stuck in the hallway for 2 or 3 people because they say, oh, can you help me with this? Oh, can you help me with that? And on the way back, the same thing happens. So instead of doing 1 call, they actually really responded to 5. But when they get back to the desk, they only have 1 issue. So what they want to do is be able to put in a quick issue into Issuetrak, and they use a quick pick to do that. It was pre-filled with information, so really all they needed to do was submit the issue, put in the user, and out. They were done. In some cases, you also want to add a workflow to the issue from the start. As I mentioned, an onboarding issue, an offboarding issue, a request to fulfill a particular request for hardware or to get a request to have a travel advance approved. Those are things that have workflows for them. So the quick pick can add that right from the start so we can get that process moving fast. So the idea is to have the quick submission go ahead and be able to go ahead and do as little or no work as possible. So why use it? As I just mentioned, it adds prompts to the data request. You can pre-fill fields to simplify data entry. You can assign the issue to users or group right from the start. You can add a workflow. You can add an email distribution list to that quick pick. You can add one or more attachments to it. Sometimes people want to provide users with forms. So they'll add an attachment to that issue that'll go ahead and then allow them to download that attachment, fill it out, and then reattach it to the issue after it's been submitted. So it becomes that guided way of submitting the issue.
We can take a pause for an audio check.
Hold on one second, please. I'm going to do
Not our smoothest running webinar. I apologize. They're adjusting Mike's audio. It started to get staticky, so we asked him to stop.
Can everybody hear me now?
It sounds
iffy.
Oh, it sounds a little better. Not like the quality when you started, but it's not painfully staticky like it was a second ago.
What happened? I'm going to switch off and switch back. Give me one sec. Can y'all hear me now better?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Mike.
All right, I'm on speaker. All right, everyone. I apologize for the audio issues. Paul was trying to get my attention, and I didn't know he was talking about now or earlier, so I apologize for that drastically. I hope you got something out of what we just started with. We'll go ahead and get started. Go ahead and kind of rerun through some of this a little bit. The basic thing that I'm trying to tell you is to go ahead and use the quick picks in order to get a quick start on the issues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly how it's done and how you use a quick pick. So I'm going to log in as an administrator. I'm going to go to the quick picks. I'm going to show you a couple of best practices that we use within Issuetrak. So here we go. Let's get started with this. Now, we're still in CS training. I'm still logged in as an administrator. So I'm going to go into the quick pick list really quickly. And my quick pick list here shows you a couple of things that I do when I have a lot of quick picks. In this particular site, I do have a lot of quick picks. It's probably 66 records that it shows in total through here. And you'll notice that this particular site that I'm using has got some prefixes in it. For example, the ED is for education, HD is for help desk, MFG, of course, is manufacturing, and then operations at the end. When you start typing in a quick pick name, then you can start typing the first few letters and it'll pick it up. Now, it will go ahead and start also looking at information related to the name itself. But it gives a nice way of segmenting the data just from the start. So essentially, if I put in E, I'm going to get educational ones. H's, I'm going to get the help desk. Another thing that we can do within there is actually restrict access. So even though I have a lot of quick picks, not all of these quick picks are going to be available for every user. So for example, when I go in here and I do an edit off of this one for accounting in general, then what I'm doing is I'm making sure that only the operations users or the people in the operations organization can even view these quick picks to start with. So I'm restricting their access. I can do it also by groups. So for example, here in my education ones, I wanted to make sure the EEOC ones could only be assigned by users in the faculty and staff. I didn't want them to be able to be used by someone who is maybe a bus driver or something like that. I just wanted faculty and staff to be able to submit anything having to do with an EEOC complaint. So I restricted that access. And you'll notice here on this one also that we've started putting in some prompts for data in here. The class is filled in, the issue type is filled in, the subject line is filled in. It's already assigned to the HR manager. If it has any process, it would be added for that one too. Now, to show you the one that's more common that we get into a lot is on the operations side, we get a new employee. A new employee is something that's an onboarding issue, is what most people see that as. And here you can see I'm adding an additional prompts in here. For example, here I filled in the subject line, prompting for the user that's going to be added. I've got the work location, start date in here as prompts in the full descriptions. And I've got please checking off the questions below in the task manager. Now in this particular case, we have a workflow that's already been added here. So as I show you the working version of this in a minute, I'm going to go ahead and show you some questions that need to be responded to that add additional tasks in here. So this is workflow. Here you'll also see operations and human resources, HR managers already added. Again, minimizing the amount of data that needs to be added by the submitting user. So in this particular case, this works really well because then all the processing goes ahead and works well with this. So let's take a look at it. At the top, I'm going to go back to home and I'm going to do submit issue. We're going to go ahead and select the ops. So we're going to do ops. And then I'm going to go down a little bit and I'm going to pick up ops HR, and it's going to end up being, I've got tons of these in here, OPS. And if I find that new user, here it is, HR, new employee. So when I submit the issue, I would put in John Smith. And then his work location, whatever it's going to be, office. His department is going to be admin. And the start date is going to be today, 03/12/2020. And then we're off and running. Because really I don't have to do anything else after that except respond to this request. And you can even just submit the issue now. So if I submit the issue, you see that task is going to be assigned to me to respond to. So is this person going to be a full-time employee? Yes, he is. If he's going to be a full-time employee, is he going to be working remote? Well, no, this one's not. So I'm responding to questions that help me onboard this particular person. He loads all the stuff. Does he need insurance? No, he doesn't need insurance. So I'll respond to that question. Again, it may add in additional items in here as we go forward. And you can see this whole process and this whole list is actually being added as we move forward. So it gives you a lot of capability within the system in order to add a work process as you go ahead and submit the issue this way. So I can ask a bunch of questions and then have all of the tasks related to that question actually be added right then and there. Another thing that some customers do is they would like to have the quick picks really be the main way they submit issues. If I log in, go back here to the home page, and I go to submit issues, this user goes directly to the submit page. Well, then you can pick and choose which way you want to submit. I can go in and submit through quick pick, or I can come down here and I can select the issue type. Either way, I can start submitting the issue. Well, when we come back and we take a look here, and I'm going to get back in here, one of the things that you can do in Issuetrak is you can make an option in here about how you can actually, I cannot keep this straight today. You can use what's called the pre-submit screen. The pre-submit screen is an option in the administrator section that allows you to select whether you can even get to the submission field until you fill in information. I'm going to turn this feature on in here. So I'm going to go into the gear icon here. And I'm going to go into the features page. And in the features page, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to turn on the pre-submit page. And I'm going to turn on the ability to use both the quick pick and the issue type to submit the issue. I do my update. And then I come back and submit the issue. Now in this particular case, I have a user who can submit for others. Normally, I get a quick pick and an issue type and nothing else. So if I was to log out and log back in as user A or user B or even user C, then what would happen is I would get those options without the organization call or subject or full description. Those are agent capabilities, and that's why they show up. But here you'll see there is the full issue type list, and then here there's the type list, and here's the quick pick list. So I'm going to go ahead and change that option again. Now, what happens is some people will submit a quick pick, or submit instead of a quick pick, they'll go to the issue type and select it. And what happens is they forget things, they don't add the process, things get missed. So what we do is we go to the features capability again, and we change the option to include the quick pick field. Now, if you don't have the permission to use quick picks, you can't submit an issue. So you have to make sure that all of your users can use quick picks, or you're going to get a warning message when you go to that page that says you can't submit any issues because you don't have permissions to use quick picks, because that is a user permission. So I do update, and then Paul's asking me to make this a little larger, forgive me. And then we're going to log back out. I'm going to log back over to home page, so I'm going to go to home and go to submit. Again, you don't see the issue type. The only thing you see is the quick pick. So even though I fill in all of this information, I still can't submit until I pick one of the quick picks. And then, of course,
Mike,
I get
Mike, can I interrupt for a second?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this was a new feature that came out in the product a couple of releases ago. I'm thinking 6 months thereabout, and it was added to the product, but if you don't read the release notes or attend these webinars, this is the reason we have these. So in the next session, Paul's going to be talking about new features in the product. This is why we're doing this. So you wouldn't have known about this unless you were talking with somebody at Issuetrak explaining a pain point. So this is kind of the purpose of coming in for these new features, especially if you can't spend 2 hours. Grab that last 20 minutes of the webinar once a month, or go check the video. Sorry, I didn't mean to do a commercial.
That's actually a really good point, because this particular feature has been something that is requested by our users for years, literally years. Paul probably, when he came on board, heard it from other customers. Hey, can I just submit by quick pick? You know, I'm sure that, you know, even I've been behind this desk for 20 years and predate the software completely. So I've been hearing it for more years than I can think of. So this was a big feature for me when it came in, is having this ability to select quick pick or issue type on the submission side. It really makes things sometimes a lot easier for staff to work with. So that was a good segue on that one. So in here, of course, we're back to the submission of the issue. So it is a lot easier in order to submit an issue in here. For example, in here, if I want to do complaint, you see how I don't even have to start typing the beginning. The type ahead now, it goes ahead and searches for content within the name of the quick pick. So you don't always have to use the prefix in order to get good results from the type ahead here, because now it's more like a lookup field. So you can go in and select one thing. So if I just put in teacher,
it's looking for teacher. So I don't necessarily have to do it. However, I still recommend you use good naming conventions whenever you are using the quick pick functionality. So, and here, of course, then we use as many quick picks as possible. It gives us that ability to do all of our different formatting that we need. It gives us the ability to put in workflows. It's an easy way to do submissions, and it works as a natural progression to thinking about issue type, custom screen, and then how do we want to deploy. Because a lot of times that's what I do, is I'll go from the issue type custom screen, and then I'll go directly to the quick pick and create a quick pick to launch from. I've been working with the product for a lot of years, and I do find that to be one of the more helpful features in the software. We use it a lot here for our internal purposes within Issuetrak. Okay, so we got about 8 more minutes left. Are there any questions that have come up that we wanted to cover, or anything that the audience would like to see related to quick picks or the issue types? Have we got anything we haven't addressed in the chat?
No, we were answering them on the fly, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, folks, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes then to go ahead and wait until we get Paul. We're going to do a little quick switch in order to make Paul the host, so he can go ahead and finish up today with the last session related to our new capabilities within Issuetrak. We're going to pick up again here at 2:30, and that'll be for the last 15 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes that we're going to do today is going to be a question and answer period, really, for Paul, myself, and for Tony. So try to see if you can think of anything that you would like to know, and we'll be happy to go ahead and respond to them. And you'll be adding those into the chat functionality, so you can go ahead and let us know. So you can go ahead and ask any question you want. So if you want to go ahead and get started early of any questions that you have, put them into chat. Tony and Paul are Tony and myself will be monitoring that chat, and we'll share those questions with everyone in our 15-minute session. So we're going to hold off now and kind of go a little dark for a little bit, and then come back at 2:30 and then get started again. So thank you for attending my sessions. I've been appreciative today, especially with some of the little bit of troubles we've had today. Thank you.